Hi, this is Adam Dewhirst, and this is part 5 of our stylized character modelling. Where we were last time is that we finished off the ear, we've done some detail on the eye, we've done the inside of the mouth, so all the basic geometry has been completed. We've still got our half a head, and at this point I think we've pretty much sculpted all the detail I think that we're going to do. So what we're going to do is move on and make a whole head, and then start tweaking some of the shape. So I'm going to select our head, go to Edit, Duplicate Special. In fact, before we do that, let's just click on the channel box over here and check that everything's set to 0. Yep, scale is 1, that's fine. And just delete any history, which we probably did at the end of the last lesson anyway. But good to check that. So Duplicate Special, option box here. If I just hit Duplicate Special on its own, then it just goes to the default settings, but I'm going to want to tweak some stuff here. Now, just to show you, if I reset, the default settings are like this. If I duplicate the default setting, it just duplicates the mesh. What I'm looking to do is duplicate in -x. So in scale, I'm going to put -1. Oh, if the keyboard will work. -1, there we go. And duplicate special, there we go. And you'll notice that on the attributes over here, we've got scale 1 for the normal head and scale -1 for the other head. So I'm just going to hit modify freeze transforms. Okay, and I'm going to take both heads, mesh combine, and that's now made it one mesh. If we hit 3, we can see there's this line down the middle. That's because none of those vertices have been merged together. So we're going to take just a bunch of vertices down the middle. Just make sure you've got everything in the middle. It doesn't matter if you've got other ones. And what we're going to do is go Edit Mesh, Merge, the option box, and make sure the threshold's set very low, which means that it'll only merge the points that are right next to each other. So let's hit Merge. Now, what we've got, hopefully, is a head that's been joined together. Let's just have a quick look. Now, if you hit 3, you can normally see points that it's missed. It hasn't joined up there, hasn't joined up here. Now we can fix that. That's just me essentially being lazy. It means that I have got several vertices down the middle that are not on X, and we can see them right here. So I'm going to select those vertices and hit 0 in X, and just check if there's any others. There we go. Looks like there's a couple there. Okay, well let's try that again. Select the edges down the middle and merge them. Still missing a few. Now it's possible that our threshold for merging vertices is too low, so let's go through merge again. Maybe set to 0.01. Try that. Okay, now that's worked. There we go. Everything down the middle is merged nicely. Should be all nice and clean. Let's just check the normals, conform. Okay, now it's flipped the normal direction of one side. Now what that is that if we go to display polygons, face normals, you can see that all these arrows pointing out indicate that that's the direction that the normal face is facing. And on the other side you'll see there's nothing. That's because they're all actually facing inwards. And what that means is that when we render this, you'll only see one side of the face. So I'm going to go display polygons, turn face normals back off, and if I go to normals and conform, it'll make sure everything faces the same way. Now if we hit 3, that line down the middle's gone, because everything is nice and neat and correct, which is great. Okay, so now that we've got our whole head, we can see some things I'm starting to point out. Firstly, the chin looks a little angular, as does the mouth, and there's a little bit of a bump here. So first thing we'll do is go to the top view, I think, and just start reshaping the chin a bit. Now I've got my vertices on reflection. Again, that's in the tool settings, scroll down, and you can turn reflection on and off. I'm going to keep it in reflection because now that I've got the whole head, I'm going to make sure whatever changes I make apply to both sides of the head. some of these points here. And a lot of these I'm just going to be pulling out and reshaping a little. Remember, the sort of position at the back of the mouth here is definitely correct because we've lined that up with our concept. Oh. I think that front piece is just a little sharp, so we'll just push that in a little. Okay, that's a little better. And just bit by bit you're basically going to come in and sort of reshape this to something a little more sympathetic, a little more organic and slightly less CG looking, I suppose, slightly less looking like you've made it out of clay, more that it's, I mean, what we're aiming at is this kind of very nice flow to the whole thing, as if it was sort of a, I don't know, I suppose some kind of plastic moulding or something. Okay, that looks a lot better. Much better. And let's have a look at that bit on the forehead. Now that is the bridge of the nose, but it's looking a little bumpy. So in actual fact I think I'm going to pull it out a bit more, because that would naturally shape like that. And just maybe relax some of these edges, which are, again, you know, they don't really need to go down there. That looks a little more correct, a little more soft, and I think as well the brow is looking just a little bit too soft. I think the brow would be slightly more pronounced. So let's just pull that forward a little in some places. Don't want to affect the eye too much, so I'll turn the soft mod brush down. Kind of a sympathetic look now. Okay, it's looking a little better. And the other thing is that I keep thinking that the eye is a little far apart. So again, I'm going to look in the front view now. I know it matches the concept, but I think, again, at this point, this is one of those issues where we see that the concept isn't quite so relevant in 3D space. So I'm going to take whole bunch of the eye there and just move it in a little bit more to make it a little bit nearer, which means I'll have to move my eyeball as well. I've only got the one eyeball, and again that's really just for reference. Okay, looking better. Still got these sharp cheekbones here, so again might want to just adjust that a little, soften it a little bit. And again, this is something that you'll just spending some time just moving the vertices individually, just so they sit a little better on your mesh. Okay. Now at the top of the head we've got a similar issue. Again, this is stuff that's been, the stuff that's come into the center is not quite correct in the overall flow. So again, we're just going to take it some individual points, just relax it, move it back, move it to a more natural position. Okay, that one's looking a little down. And this can, of course, take some time. Unfortunately, because this tutorial is, as I say, me doing this, you know, in real time as I go. As quick as I do it is, unfortunately, is going to be as quick as you guys see it. So this may be a little boring, I'm afraid. Okay, that'll do for now, and maybe just check the back of the head now. Again, this is looking a little messy, so I might switch over to the Sculpt Geometry tool and go up to the smooth setting. Make sure reflection's turned on. Earlier on I had turned it off, so just be wary that it, whether it's on or off. So I'm going to turn reflection on, hold down B. Oh, doesn't want to do that. There we go. Just relax some of these going into the neck. I don't want to do it too much because I don't want to ruin our jawline or where the ear is sitting or anything like that. I'm just going to shape some of these harder edges. Ooh. You can use this tool too much, don't rely on it, but it's great just for sort of evening stuff out. Again, this ear we've sort of forced into the head, so we're just going to try and make it sit a little more naturally. Now here's an example of me using it too much. I don't really want that going in, I want that rounding off the head. Three, how's that looking? Well, the ears definitely look a lot better. I've got this slightly annoying stretch here, which I would like to get rid of. Just gonna move that up. Oh. Better. So we've got the jaw and the ears nice and set. Okay. Now really that is kind of the last of the head changes. There's our head, our basic head. What I will do is very quickly do some slight tweaking in Mudbox. Now if you don't know what Mudbox is, it's a sculpting program also made by Autodesk, or owned by Autodesk, and I'm going to delete the history on this. Make sure it's frozen. We'll probably give the whole thing a name. We'll call it head underscore geo for geometry. And I'm going to center the pivot. Delete the history again. Delete all by type history. And we're going to go to Window and Settings and Preferences and Plugin Manager. And I'm just going to check that OBJ Export is on. It often isn't, so OBJ Export loaded, great. Which means we can go File, Export Selection, and as an OBJ I'm going to put it in the data folder of my scene, and we'll call this head tweaks, maybe. Oh. (001). Okay, and let's open up Mudbox. Okay, now it's got a load of random shapes you can pull in some recent files. I don't really need any of this. I'm just going to close this little option box and go File, Import, and go to, where are we, Animation Workshop, Caricature, Data, Head Tweaks, Open. Okay, so there's my head in this program. I'm going to go up to Mesh and add new subdivision level, just so I can see it on smooth. Add a couple more actually, and now we're going to make some tweaks. Now I'm going to switch to a Wacom tablet, so I can move things about a bit more easier. And again, if you hold down B and move your tablet, your pen, you can change the brush size. And along the bottom here, right, we've got all these sculpting tools. Now I'm going to pick Grab. Grab is great because you can move whole sections of the model really easily, but it'll only work effectively. Well, I mean, it'll work on any mesh, but obviously you're going to want to have made your mesh in Maya first, I think. So I'm really just going to use this to start shaping things a little. And I don't want to do too many tweaks, so I'm really just using this as a faster way of altering little bits of my model to give it, I don't know, more shape in places. Now if I hold down the Shift key I can automatically get a sort of smooth, which rubs out any nasty edges on my model. Again, this could have been the way that we tweaked the mouth to give it more of a curve, that's fine. And I can use the sculpt brush here to sort of paint like toothpaste, so I can maybe use it just to push out some of that brow. And again, this works, now this is silly of me, I've been working here and I haven't had a reflection in X on, which means I've only made these changes on one side. So I'm going to hit Control Z just to undo all these changes I've made. A little bit for a waste of time there. And we're going to put mirror to X on. And now I've got a brush on both sides. So, switch back to grab. Any changes I make now should apply to both sides of the model. That is much better. Okay, so let's go to the sculpt brush. Maybe add a bit more of a brow if I feel it needs more brow. It's a good place where I can try and solve this cheekbone issue. Now, the reason it's making those harsh edges there is because we're running on a low subdivision level. Remember that I'm going to bring this back into Maya, so I'm not making a map. I'm going to have to go back down to the lowest level when I bring this back into Maya. So let's go up another level. And what this is doing, this is subdividing the model. So if we hit the wireframe, you can see it's obviously now a much more detailed mesh, but this is just for the sake of sculpting it. So let's turn the wireframe off. And okay, I'm just going to add some shape here. I could have probably just used grab and smooth, but I don't know. It's possible you can work this up too much, and that may happen here. Have to wait and see. I'm actually giving him a little bit of expression, which I probably shouldn't do for a neutral pose character, but I feel like this guy kind of needs it. Let's go back to the grab tool. And again, you can get these results as well, really, except for the sculpting with the soft mod tools. It's essentially a similar tool set, but it's nice sometimes to switch up, use something different, get a new perspective. So I'm just going to make that nose sit a little better. No, that wasn't sensible. And there's no point doing fine detail here because that's really not going to be visible. It's really just about shaping the model. It will be visible later when we do a displacement map, but for now this is that just there was possibly the smallest bit of change I'd make. So alright, let's go and try and repeat some of those changes I made on the ear. And it's great for something like an ear where you may have done a nice simple topology, a nice simple mesh, but you haven't really got any ear shape perfect for that sort of thing. You can just come into Mudbox for 5-10 minutes, just sculpt it a little, move things around. And the great thing about Mudbox is it has the same navigation system as Maya, so you're still just holding down the Alt key and using the left, middle and right mouse buttons to navigate through. Now Mudbox has a whole range of tools. Plenty of people will give you much better tutorials than that than me. It's a great website called Mudbox Hub. It has some useful stuff by a guy called Wayne Robson. That's mudboxhub.com, I think. But its basic tools, the basic sculpt tools here, are really very easy to pick up. In the latest versions you can now also paint textures, and you can also pose the model as well in the latest version, I believe. Another similar tool is ZBrush. Okay, I'm not going to do too much of this because this looks a bit more like fine detail. I'm just using the smooth tool now to get rid of any notches I've left on the model. Just make the whole thing nice and sort of finished. Try and get rid of any. Now it's great here because we've got a reflective surface, so we can kind of see where the light's hitting the model, exactly how it's being affected. And that pretty much, I think, pretty much does me for this. Right. Oh, maybe if I should do a little on the mouth, perhaps. It's also a great tool if you ever want to do expressions for your character. Obviously, it's very easy just to move parts to create, you know, certain expressions. Anyway, that'll do for now. I've just done. It's just really some slight tweaks just to give this guy a bit more closer to his concepts and get rid of some of these nasty artifacts that sometimes happen. Right, so we're finished with this. So what we're going to do is go to the select tool, select the object, go yellow, and we're going to go mesh, step level down. We're going to go down one level 3, so we're going to go down to 0. Now you'll notice it's changing slightly, that's because it's subdividing it down. And if we turn wireframe on, this is our basic level. Okay, so at this level, obviously, you know, we've made changes, but we're going to see how that's affected our model when we bring it back into Maya. So select the object file, export selection, and we're going to call this, going to go caricature data head tweak 2. There we go. Right, shut down this. Not going to save these changes. And back in Maya, we're going to go file, import, and let's go to the data folder. Head tweaks 2, import. Now, go to the outliner by going window outliner. What we've got is we've got head and we've got mesh, so we just brought mesh in. Now you can see, because they're currently on top of each other, that mesh is slightly different. The differences are fractional, but they've given us a better shape. In fact, there's changes in the nose. You can see the ear changes quite clearly. Okay, so I'm going to select head. That's our original head. This is our new one. Just have a look at the two of them. They're only fractional changes, but if we smooth, you can see I think the new one has a lot less bumpiness. Is it better? That's the question. I don't know. I'm beginning to think the old one was better. Well, maybe these mudbook changes haven't helped. I don't know. Let's you know, I think, with the exception of the nose, those changes haven't actually aided us any. In which case, I think, well, actually, I don't know. The mouth is certainly that around the mouth seems a lot smoother, and we have got rid of that nasty cheekbone part, which has been bugging me. But the eyebrow, the brow, is a lot softer. I'll tell you what we'll do is we'll stick with our changes there, and we're going to refine this back a little more. This is why a lot of people rely on mudbooks, but you really shouldn't do. So what I'm going to do is take the brow, again this should be hopefully on reflection, yep, and just going to move this back out a little bit. I believe on 3 our mouth was open again, so we're going to go to the side view. I'm going to close that back up again. Turn the soft mod radius down a little. Oh. That's pretty high actually. Just seal the mouth back up. And it looks like we've missed the middle. Let's just correct that. Again, vertex, W for your move tool. And I'm just going to scale that, or scale that, position that in the correct place. There we go, that's looking better. Look at our ears. I think it'd be nice if they had a little more character, so again, let's just take some of these vertex. Make that top here a little bigger, perhaps. Again, this is just making it a little more stylized. Often what just happened there is that I selected the vertice on the other side of the head, which you can't just unselect. You've got to make sure you unselect the one on the correct side, so just correct these. Might even pull this top ear down a bit to give it that little indent inside the ear, top of the ear. Again, we can switch between soft mode, hard edges by hitting between 1 and 3. 2 will give you both views. That's a much nicer ear shape, but generally that ear is sitting much better in the head. The head shape's nice and smooth. That jaw is a lot more subtle, which I think is nicer. We'll maybe move this back a little. I say it's subtle, and now I'm going to make it more prominent. Never mind. No, that's definitely worked in our favour. Okay, great. So we were back to I think our head is essentially finished now, minus the eyebrows and the hair and the props, but the basic actual skin of the head is finished. There we have our head. Okay, and what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to make a very crude body. We're not going to make the whole body. I'm really just going to make something for this, a sort of set of shoulders for this to sit on. So I'm going to select that whole bottom edge, I'm going to extrude out. And again, pulling this down as I go. You can look in the side view, see if we've got something sort of matching. And I'm going to scale this in a little bit. And last but not least, let's just do this once more. Try and get this to end somewhere straightish. Do. Actually, I might just straighten it out and then rotate it. I would like it to be able to. We'll hit B to turn soft mods off. There we go. I think that's pretty much where I'm going to want to end it. Let's look in the front view. It's probably a little wide. Oh, actually, it's not too bad. But maybe this could be lower. Yeah, that looks a little bit more like a set of shoulders. There we go. Very, very basic. That's where we're going to finish this model. I may even, if I wanted this to actually be a proper bust, I would select this edge here, and I'd probably pull it in. And then either run a fill hole or just extrude everything into one point. That would create a lot of triangles. So I tell you, in which case I prefer using the fill hole tool myself. You don't really want triangles in your model if possible. Just just going to try and line that up. And we'll select that edge. Mesh, fill a hole. We can hit smooth, ignore that for the bottom. What we've got is basically a nice little finish to our model. He's got ears, he's got eyes, he's got a nose. Our nose is looking a little funny. I might just tweak that at the beginning of the next lesson. And I think we'll just very, very quickly just wrap this up. Now earlier this worked out very nicely for us. I have the distinct impression here that it's not going to. Well, those are all quads. But it would have been nice to make a subdivision across the middle because it's a little wide. But I think because it's the base, it's not really going to be a huge issue. So, and again, this isn't practical for the purpose of a character you're going to animate, but for the purpose of my model here, it'll do just fine. Okay, great, and we're done. So, edit, delete all by type. We'll go File, Save Scene as, and go to Scenes. We'll call this one 6 Sculpt, because that's what we did. Save. And that's where we'll end this lesson. And hopefully next lesson we'll look at just finishing that nose and maybe starting on the glasses and the eyebrow.